graduating class in high school had 16 people in it. So like ridiculously small. Like people are like, oh, I only have like 100 kids in my class. And I'm like, it's 16. And you knew everybody and everybody hated each other and everybody loved each other and everybody was boyfriend and girlfriend. Like it was just a mess, right? Like just one of those places where like as soon as I graduated, I moved out. So I was literally at a house like a week after graduation because I did not want to stay in that small town. So I left and I went about an hour away from where I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. And it was like the city, if you will, way bigger than where I grew up. So I left and went to a community college there. And so I graduated in May and I met my future husband in August. And I found out we were pregnant in October.
Same person.
We wasted no time. Things happened very quickly. I ended up dropping out of college because I was pregnant and, you can't have a baby and go to school at the same time, or that was at least my mindset. So I never graduated college. I dropped out and decided to be a mom. When I met Brett is his name, my husband or my soon to be husband at the time. Again, I was 18. He had just turned 21. He at the time did drugs, every college, most college kids, I think at that time, had, recreational drug use and things like that. But when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, okay, time to grow up. We're done with all that now. And it was something that he wasn't able to give up. He had a super severe addiction, to drugs and alcohol. And I knew that going into it, right? I knew, but I was 18 and I was like, okay, whatever. But then, like I said, when I had kids, I was ready just to have that family. So we got married when my oldest was 9 months old and found out I was pregnant again on her first birthday. Yeah, it was just, it was exciting. Let me tell you what. So here was this like 19-year-old with 2 babies in diapers, just like it was crazy. Okay. And then I had a husband who had a drug and alcohol addiction. That drug and alcohol addiction led into affairs, many affairs. Sorry, my phone's on vibrate and it's going to annoy the hell out of me. Many affairs, honestly. Some that I physically walked in on. It was not a very good experience. I was in a very dark place and so was he. I developed anorexia during all of that. Just to cope, I needed something to control and it worked for me for a while. But I got unhealthy, very, very unhealthy. I struggled with anorexia for a few years. I then went into bulimia. I worked full time at that time in a call center, and I always had a desk drawer of the right hand side, and in that desk drawer I kept Cheerios, like boxes of Cheerios, literally like stacked up. And I would pop a handful of Cheerios whenever I felt the hunger pain, and that was my diet, 100%. And I just again got to this place where I was just a mess. I filed for divorce, and that was in 2010, and moved out. I moved in with one of my friends. She also was married, had 3 kids. So me and my 2 kids moved in with her, and it was just like a halfway Brady Bunch type thing. But it didn't last very long. We were living with her for about 6 months when my husband started going back to church and said that he was changed. And I remember specifically sitting with him at a table once. We took the girls out to eat, and I remember just crying and crying and crying because he had invited me to his baptism. And I was like, at that time, just like, you're just like, bleh. You're such a joke. Like, why now? Like, why after you've lost your wife and kids and all these things, like, why now make the change? And it was just a very weird place. But I went to his baptism and took the girls, and something in me told me to give him another shot. So I did. And I truly believed that everything had changed and that he was different. And I was ready to just enter this new phase of my life where I had a husband again and kids again, and just was willing to fight for that to make it work. So we got back together. We didn't officially divorce. All the paperwork, nothing actually had went through. So we just canceled everything and then stayed married. So we got back together. moved around a little bit. It was about 2012, late 2012, when it was just like one day, I randomly looked down and I'm like, holy crap, I'm not like in shape anymore. I don't have like this body that I had achieved like through having eating disorders and things like that. But when he got clean and kind of rededicated his life and things like that, it was almost like a rejuvenation for me in a way where I could let those eating issues go and kind of be in a marriage again in a healthy relationship and focus on my family. So I was no longer at that point struggling with eating disorders. It was kind of washed away, if you will, which is it's weird to explain. I don't know. But I started going to the gym at that point. I was like, okay, well, this is obviously not working for me. I remember taking before pictures. And I started going to Lifetime Fitness in Missouri and started doing pump classes in the gym. And that's where I really started to fall in love with lifting, and just working out in general. And I remember going to like the library. That's when we still went to the library. And I remember checking out books, and like there's a book called like New Rules of Lifting for Women and like all this stuff. And I was just super passionate about it. Like it was everything I did. I got obsessed with like making healthy meals and all this stuff. And I even joined MyFitnessPal, the app,
yeah.
food tracker. I was in that in like 2012. And there was a time where it was like, you've logged in for like 570 days in a row. And I was like, yes, like obsessed with it. Okay. But on MyFitnessPal in April 2013, I had noticed a bunch of people posting about Shakeology. And I'm like, okay, what is this magic shake? Like, this is exactly what I need. You know what I mean? Something to help me get in shape and yada, yada, yada. And so I posted on MyFitnessPal and I was like, okay, I need some more info about Shakeology. Like, I've seen people post about it. Who knows where I can get some? And so someone randomly tagged my now coach, Leslie Cortez, Real Fit Housewife on Instagram, tagged her. So at that point, it was really just Facebook. So I shot her a message on Facebook, said, hey, I want some free Shakeology samples. Can you help me out? And so she was like, okay, and just kind of had a little conversation with me. And this is really where I think I got the basis of what conversation should look like, because she was like, okay, but let me ask you a few questions first. And so she went into like what I do and what my passion is and, what I'm doing now and things like that. And I told her I just started to get into fitness and, that I was still working full time and I had a husband and wife and all this stuff. And she's like, have you ever thought about coaching? And I was like, no. And she's explained for like 5.2 seconds what that meant. And I was like, okay, 100% I'll do it. I was literally the easiest prospect in the entire world. The easiest. I told her I would sign up on payday, but I also had to ask my husband first. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Brett. And so I like went and talked to Brett and he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, shut down, like really quick. And I begged him for like that entire week. I think I talked to her on like a Sunday and Friday was payday. And he's like, beach, like, are you going to, like, he thought that it was like modeling on the beach. And like, it was just weird. Like he had no idea what it was. So I had to spend like an entire week watching videos with him to explain to him what the business was and things like that. And he was like, you know what? You can sign up. I just want the money back that we invest in it. And at that time, I paid $205. Is that a familiar story? I see him looking at you, and he's like, yeah. Yeah. I paid $205 for the P90X challenge pack. So it's like funny. So when people say now, oh, 240 or 140 and 160, I'm like, I paid $205 for a challenge pack. So I did it, and he was like, I just want that investment back, and then you can keep whatever few hundred you make after that. And I was like, deal. So I dug in. I dug in freaking hard. And my goal ultimately in the beginning was just to have accountability. Like Leslie promoted it, like, it's great accountability to be a coach. Like people are watching you and they're not going to let you slow down and things like that. And I was like, that's really what I needed. At that point, I had no idea about the income potential, no idea about the lifestyle potential, like nothing about it. So, but as soon as Brett was like, you can keep the extra $100 you make from it, I was like, all right, we're going to play that game. So I dug in and I was like, okay, Leslie, what do I have to do to make money? And she said, you have to hit Success Club and you have to bring the fans. And I was like, okay. Like she literally gave me those two little things to plant in the back of my head, rank advance and hit Success Club to make money. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I started on April 12th of 2013. I hit Success Club 12 in that first month, that first half month. I hit Emerald in the first week. I hit it in like 4 days, I think. I hit Diamond in 60 days, which is a long time now. There's like all these new coaches now that are like Diamond in 4 days. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Like, it's just, I used to be like all cool and say I hit Diamond in like 64 days. And now there's like people doing it like in a week. It's crazy. But I hit Diamond pretty quickly. And I made $243 in my first week as a coach. In that first week, I happily transferred $205 to Brett and kept the rest. And then my paychecks just continued to grow from there. Like I did not slow down at all from there. Again, Diamond in 60 days. I was a Diamond for 9 months in the business. And I was pretty, like after that 9 months, like towards the end of that 9 months, I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, why am I still a Diamond? Why am I not advancing? Like everyone else is advancing. Like what's going on? And so I actually got invited to, I didn't go to Summit my first year because I signed up in April. Summit was in like June. And I was like, I'm a new coach. Like I can't go to that. But I sat there on social media and watched every other coach that I knew that was in our team page having fun at Summit, going to like this white party in Vegas and things like that. And I was like, I will not miss another one. After Leslie came back, she started, they started announcing things for the leadership event that happens every fall. And at that time, it was like 5-star and above, maybe 2-star and above, 2 or 5-star and above. You could invite a guest that didn't have to be your spouse. And Leslie reached out to me and invited me because I had started to hit high Success Club numbers. I advanced Diamond pretty quickly. And so she just saw potential, I guess. And that event was a game changer for me. Summit would have been the game changer for me had I have gone. But instead I got invited to leadership with Leslie. And I was surrounded by every coach that I watched every single night. You know what I mean? At the late nights till 2 o'clock in the morning, the Scotty Hobbs, the Lindsay Matway, the Melanie Mitchell, I was surrounded by all of them. And it was just like so surreal to me as a new coach to be surrounded by these people who, created all this content and had such success in the business. And I was just like in awe. And it was a game changer for me. And I remember specifically though, there was this one girl and she's still a coach. And we don't really talk even. I don't even know if we really get along. I don't think we've even had more than like 2 sentences since this happened in 2013. But Leslie introduced me to her and she was like, oh, you're a new coach. I'm like, yeah, I'm newer. And she's like, oh, and you hit Diamond fast. That's impressive. And like talking and stuff like that. And she's like, what are you at so far in Success Club? And this is like halfway through the month. And I was like, oh, I'm at like Success Club 24 or something. And she goes, oh, that's cute. That's because you're new. And I was like, I literally was like, the fuck? Like, what did she just say to me? Like, I was so taken back. But like, no, it's not because I'm new. Like, that's the reason I should have low Success Club points. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal saying it back. But in that moment, at that event, I was just like, oh, hell no. Somebody else to prove wrong. You know what I mean? So in my mindset, I was like, okay, I've got Brett to prove wrong. And I got this chick here at leadership that's just like, oh, you're cute. You know what I mean? It was not my best experience at all. So I got back from that trip and I had this mindset shift. And I remember Leslie somehow got me a call with Arnold, who's now over Canada, corporate. Do you guys know who he is? I don't know if you know who he is. If you don't know who he is, you probably won't get to work with him because he's in Canada, but he changed my business completely and totally changed my business. I was a Diamond coach and he set up a one-on-one call with me and I told him that I wanted to push for top 10. He giggled a little bit and said, okay. And I said, okay, what do I need to do to hit top 10? And he was like, well, Raina, you're recruiting like 4 people a month. You are hitting Success Club, which is really awesome, but you're not developing any leaders. Like I was hand-holding a lot of people who, came on with me in the beginning that I saw so much potential in, but they didn't see it in themselves and they didn't want to see it in themselves, if that makes sense. Like there was never going to be that for them. Does that make sense? But I wanted it so bad. So I kept dragging them along, pushing them along every single month. And he was like, you have to let them go and you have to start bringing on new people. And he said, Raina, the top 10 right now is recruiting about 20 coaches a month. And they have about 25 to 30 coaches a month in Success Club. And I was like, oh, okay. And here I am, like this baby diamond coach who's recruiting like 4 people a month. And I was like, okay. So I got off the phone and I was pretty discouraged, but I started crying, I think. And I looked at my husband and I was like, I really want this. Like, I want this so bad, but I don't know how to make that shift to start getting the numbers that I need to get to hit that goal that I want. And he said, okay, well, we need to just sit down and figure out what the gap is. And okay, so what am I doing and what am I not doing to get me where I want to be? And the answer was talking to enough people, right? I was just not getting in front of enough people every single day. And so I changed it. And I started talking to more people, and I started doing more on social media, and I started private messaging more people, and I started cold inviting more people. And I just made myself more present on social media in every single way, shape, and form. And in April 2014, I popped my first diamond and I hit 1 star. And then I ended in November 2014, I ended at 12 star. Okay. So I went from 1 star to 12 star from April to November. And people are like, I was like, I have no idea. It was literally a blur. I don't know that I slept. I don't know what happened. I just know that I let go of the people that I was dragging behind me, and I moved on to the new people that wanted it. And I started talking more about the opportunity. I started talking more about what Beachbody had done for me. I started talking more about how my paycheck paid for groceries. I started talking more about how I didn't have to ask my husband to put $5 in gas anymore. Like, we were literally paycheck to paycheck, even though he made over 6 figures. We were in a ton of debt because of his addiction and still trying to get caught up on that. So making that change of how much this business financially changed my life was huge. And you guys, my target audience, or not my target audience, but my audience in general, not on purpose, was that small town, right? It was the people that I went to high school with, the people that I went to college with, the people that I partied with, those people who were also paycheck to paycheck. So sharing that and kind of meeting my following where they were and talking about how, a few $100s a week was like a life-changing thing for me, they wanted that too. And that allowed me to bring on people who wanted to make this work as well. Not just people who wanted the fitness side of things, but people who wanted the financial stability. So I worked every single day to show that, to show the potential of the actual business, not the fitness side of things, which is important, but more so the business side of things. So in 2014, that's what I did. And that's how I brought on all those people, and they popped diamond pretty quickly. We ended in 2014 at like number 20, I think. So I didn't hit top 10, but I went from like 400 to number 20. And I was like, that was amazing. Let's do it again. In my crazy ass mind, I said,
no,
I'm sorry, earmuffs. Okay.
Nope.
Sorry, Crystal.
No.
I cuss a little bit every once in a while. Okay. So 2014, we ended at number 20. So I started in January with this like fire, like I'm making it happen. Like, this is my year. We're going to be top 10. I remember in January getting the call from corporate that I was like number 62. And I was like, how did I go from number 20 to number 62? Like, the most discouraging thing in the entire world. Like, I give up, I quit, this is stupid, like whatever. February came around and I was like number 15 again, because numbers had started to, catch up and things like that. But I also, 2015 was a crazy year for me personally. Like, that was the year we decided to retire my husband. So it kind of went hand in hand with pushing for top 10. I made it an income goal at that point to match his income / pass his income so that we could bring him home. He was in a sales career, made over 6 figures whenever we started coaching. And at that time, he was kind of like, okay, like, you're starting to make bigger paychecks. This is kind of impressive. So we sat down at a park and I was like, okay, what do I have to do? Like, what do we have to do to bring you home? And he was like, well, you need to make X, Y, and Z much more money and da, da, da. And so I set up a game plan and I said, okay, well, I'm going to do this. We're going to give ourselves a year to do this. And we left the park and I grinded and we did it in 3 months. I was blown away. I know, we totally did. And he was like, holy shit, this is happening. Like every week, he'd be like, this is happening. It's so crazy. And it was one of the coolest things I had ever done, was to bring him home. And he quit his job at the end of May in 2015. We actually moved to California from Missouri, which had been a dream of mine forever, to live on the beach in California. And he was like, Raina, like retiring me is one thing, but making our mortgage / rent go up by like $4,000 a month isn't really going to work. And I was like, no, it's going to work. We're going to make it work. So I made it work. And we moved to California at the end of July in 2015. And I had worked from January to July to just boost my income like crazy so that I could make that happen. Because I'm the type of person, like once I set my goal and it's something super important to me, like I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to make it happen even harder if you tell me I can't type thing. So I worked my butt off. And I'm not going to lie. Like, it was hard work. I was up early in the morning before my kids went to school. I was up late at night when my kids went to bed. And I just grinded. And I grinded. And I kept that idea of always bringing on new people in the back of my mind. And I guarantee you, to this day, I tell everybody that's why my income shot up the way it did, is because I had this mindset of recruitment. And I brought people on every single month. I didn't hit less than Success Club 50, probably, that entire year. Talking to everyone. Okay. And I that's a high number. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was probably sending 100 invites a day, I would say, at least. Okay. So we retired Brett. I moved to California. Loved it. If you didn't follow me back then, it pops up on my time hop every once in a while. And I'm like, bah! Like sadness just rolls over me because I don't live there anymore. Like we literally step on our balcony and it was ocean. And it was beautiful. And I was obsessed with it. Life happens and I'll get there. Okay. So I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in March of 2016. So we had been in California for about 6 months, got diagnosed with UC. We ended that year at top 10. I don't even know what number I ended at, like 8, I think, at top 10 in 2015. So I was like, well, this is amazing. We're going to Bora Bora. So we went to Bora Bora the following year. But I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2016. And prior to this diagnosis, I was half-assing the fitness side of things. I became so consumed with the business side of things and promoting the income and the lifestyle and the business that I let go of the fitness. I had gained about 40 pounds as a health and fitness coach. And I was that coach that would record a few minutes of a video just to post it. And then I'd go in my office and sit and work for a little while and recruit more people. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do the workouts. I didn't drink Shakeology. I just completely and totally faked everything. And I'm not saying it didn't work, because it worked. And I was successful, right? But I also I wasn't proof that the product worked. So that eventually slowed down. And in 2016, I realized how big of an issue that was. We hit 15 star. At the end of 2015, I think it was. End of 2015, we hit 15 stars. So I had all these diamonds and all this awesome business. But come 2016, I started to slowly lose people. And I noticed that I was losing people because I was so focused on bringing people on who wanted the lifestyle and the income and the things like that. But I wasn't bringing on quality people who were willing to work for it, right? I wasn't bringing on people who were believers in what we offered. I had a transformation with P90X and with T25, and I did Body Beast. I even did like Beachbody Challenge, and I competed a couple times. Like, I had huge success with the actual fitness side of things, but I didn't talk about it enough, and I didn't live it. And when I hit top 10, I stopped it, right? I completely and totally stopped it. So I was losing people because they weren't obsessed with the behind the scenes like I was, if that makes sense at all. So 2016 came, I was 40 pounds overweight. I had all kinds of stomach issues, and I was like, something's not right. So I went to the doctor, had a good old colonoscopy, and got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. If you're not familiar, it's kind of like Crohn's. Like it's just like it attacks your intestines and things like that. Kelsey's on, yay! So it was not very fun. So when I was diagnosed, I was told, hey, you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life. Here you go, enjoy. It's $14.95 a month. Like, and I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I am a health and fitness coach, for God's sake. Like, I'm not going to be tied to this medication for the rest of my life. It's not going to happen. So I literally came home all doped up and was like, I'm not going to do this. This is not going to happen. Like, this is not my life. Like, I committed that day to committing to a program and to getting my ass back in shape. And that following week, that Monday, I started with the Ultimate Reset because I needed a severe mindset change, right? I needed a wake up. I needed something to shock my system. And I committed to it, and I finished it. I lost 17 pounds on the Ultimate Reset the first time I did it after I was diagnosed. I stopped my medication after 30 days because I was having zero stomach issues at all after doing the reset. Which was amazing to be able to talk about. And I committed to 21 Day Fix Extreme after that, finished it. Mind you, this was the first time I had actually finished a workout program, like start to finish since 2013, literally since 2013. And it was 2016. I did 21 Day Fix. What did I do after that? I did Insanity Max 30. During Insanity Max 30, I actually went to Bora Bora for a top 10 trip. After we went to Bora Bora, my husband was convinced that we didn't need to live in California anymore because the taxes were too high. So with a dagger to my chest and ripped out, we moved to Colorado. I continued to do Max 30 through all of this, we literally got back from Bora Bora, went to Kansas City where my family is, took a flight to Denver to house shop, booked, rent, locked down a house in 3 days, flew back to California, packed up, and moved 2 weeks later back to Colorado. Like the busiest time ever in my entire life. And I stuck to my program at that time. But I finished Max 30. I did Country Heat after that. That's when Country Heat came out that year, which was pretty entertaining. I did Hammer and Chisel after that.
You were so good.
What did I do after that? I think the Quarter Force came out that fall. And so I started Quarter Force. Mm-hmm. And then again, shit hit the fan. And I found out that my husband was using again in October of 2016. So, yeah, so much fun. I told you I have a long story. Lots of shit. I'm not done yet. Okay. So I found out he was using again. I actually found out 2 weeks before, not even 2 weeks. It was literally 3 days before our leadership event in Coronado, California. Plane tickets were booked. Everything was booked for him to come with me. And I was like, we're getting a divorce. I'm not doing it anymore. We're getting a divorce. So my mom was here to stay with the kids. Brett and I were on a flight to California, and he was like, I bought a plane ticket. I'm still going. And I'm like, well, your ass isn't going to leadership. So he went to California and I went to California, and we did different things. But I remember going to that leadership because Brett had always been that Beachbody husband, right? He was that person that was behind me. He was that cheerleader. He was doing all my online office stuff, everything. And I remember having to go to that leadership being oh, he's with a friend, couldn't make it this time, having to lie. And it was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do, to lie to the people who were my now best friends in the business. It was crazy. But I did. And pretty sure I didn't go to any of the conferences. I literally just sat at the pool and drank the whole leadership event just to I just needed that time, I think. But I came home. We came home from leadership. I filed for divorce. We told the kids. He moved out the beginning of November of 2016. And my ulcerative colitis came back with a vengeance. I think the stress of everything, stress plays more like a bigger part in our health than I think people realize. Like I had totally gone into remission from following nutrition plan and following the workouts and just getting my health back in order. Mind you, I had lost the entire 40 pounds that I had actually gained. So I had abs again. Like I felt amazing. And then with the stress of the divorce and telling the kids and having this house and nobody here in Colorado that I actually knew, like I felt like alone, and my stress level was just through the roof. So I started to get sick again. I didn't want to go back on medication, so I fought it and fought it and fought it. I was hospitalized in November. I was hospitalized in January the following year. But mind you, along with this stress, I was also let's go for top 10 again. Yeah. And I don't even know I think I needed that as an escape maybe. So on top of the divorce, on top of the kids, on top of the moving, on top of everything, I was like, I'm going to push for top 10. Mm-hmm. So I have calls with corporate every single week, and I talk to them every single week, and I hired a life coach, and I was like, my life's falling apart, but help me to be successful in my business. My kids are home. I'm still in the house, so you got to be quiet, okay? What? Okay, listen, I'm still on the call. You've got to be quiet. Tell me about it in 10 minutes. Okay. They're like, we almost died. I'm like, I don't want to hear about it yet. Okay. Should I forgot where I was? Leadership. I don't even know where I left off.
You were still going for the top 10, even with all the stress.
I was going for top 10. So I used it as my escape, honestly, at that time. I think the last 2 months of 2016 were literally like the biggest blur ever. Hold on. You guys got to go. I'm going to finish my call and then we'll come back, okay? Love you. Okay. But we did it. I remember waking up on like January 1st, just like bawling because I pushed so hard, and my team knew everything that was going on. We completely and totally rallied together, like daily check-ins. Like I was shouting them out like crazy. Like they were amazing during that time, which was a super hard time for everybody, but he's like, but we did it and it was amazing. And I remember getting the call on like January like 5th or something like that, and I was just bawling. And it was the first, like the year before that we hit top 10. I definitely did it for me. You know what I mean? It was a personal goal. I didn't do it for my team. Like I hate to say that out loud, but it wasn't at all. But 2016, like the last year we hit top 10, like we all came together and rallied and built like these huge relationships and huge bonds by doing that. It was just a game changer, and it was just a way better feeling doing it with them than without them. You know what I mean? So we locked that in. After all that like settled and we were like, I did it. I was like, yay. And then I was in the hospital like 2 weeks later because I was just dead. I got put on it's almost like I hate to say chemo because it's not chemo, but it's like a chemo drug, like IV treatments and stuff like that I had to do every week. And it's called Remicade. But it was a medication that I had to take high doses to kind of get my UC back under control. So I got put on that. At this time, I was not able to work out. I hadn't worked out since like November of 2016. So we were now in January, got hospitalized, got put on this medication. Did okay. I was decent for a while. And it was actually in May of 2017 that the medication stopped working. It was like 2 days after Mother's Day, I think. And I had to take both my kids into the hospital on like 2 days of like Mother's Day weekend. And my medication was failing, and they were like, you're going to have surgery. And so I was not happy about it, but I just wanted to feel better at that point, and I just wanted my life back. And so I had a total colectomy. If you don't know what that is, I basically had my entire large intestine and colon removed. So I have like 0 large intestine, 0 colon in my stomach at all. I had a ileostomy bag put on, which is where I like don't go to the bathroom anymore, right? I go into this bag, and it was temporary. I was going to have it for 8 weeks, and I was going to then get what they call a J pouch, and it's like an internal pouch. So I don't know. It's a long story. You can Google it if you want to, but I don't recommend Googling it because it's not very fun to look at. So I got my surgery in May. I went to Summit in June with my PICC line in my arm and everything. I had my temporary bag and everything at that point. And then I came back from Summit on Sunday, and I had my my second surgery to actually like remove my bag on Monday. So I flew in Sunday night from Summit and was like dead from the event. But during that time, like from May to July, when I had the bag, I felt like I got my life back. Like I felt like the old me again. I was going live in my team pages again. Like I just felt like I had the energy again to fight for life. And it was amazing. So I got the reversal in July of 2017. Kind of felt like at that point while I was healing, I was also trying to get my business back to where I needed it to be, right? Because I had taken off for so long. Though I was still there and I was still present, people were still doing things. Like I lost a lot of people because I wasn't one-on-one connecting with anybody at that point anymore because I was just so out of it. So I focused a lot in 2017 on building a lot of those relationships back and continuing to hit Success Club and continuing to bring on new people and continuing to reach a whole new market of people with my disease and things like that. Just not that I was using it to like get clients, but it allowed me to reach a way bigger audience of people who needed my help. Not just people who wanted my help, but people who really needed my help. So it was pretty eye-opening. And then so my divorce was final in November last year, November 2017. Life seemed to settle down slightly. And then February of this year, my J pouch, what they called it, was the internal pouch, actually failed. I had abscesses on it. I was having a ton of infection. Like it was just a mess and I wasn't 100% anymore. I am way past time, so I'm going to kind of try to, are you good? Okay. So I'm like, if you need to hop off, I totally get it. I told you my story was long. Mm-hmm. You guys have so much stuff.
Keep going. We're good. We're soaking it all in. We love you, Raina.
So it was failing, and I sat down with the surgeon. He was like, you have two options. We can like try to rebuild it, but your chance of it coming back and your chance of infection is very high. So you're going to constantly have these issues, or you can go back to the bag permanently. And without a doubt in my mind, I said I wanted the bag back because those 2 months in May and July were the best I had felt in like 2 years having that bag on my stomach. And so without a doubt in my mind, I was like, okay, let's do the ileostomy. I'm going to have it permanently and I'm totally okay with it. And we did it. And in February 2018, I got my permanent ileostomy and I am still with it. And I call him Carlos and he's named. But I got down to, I was 108 pounds in February of this year. Like, and I'm 5'6" and I'm big bone. Like if you see my mama, she's got a big old butt. Like I am not meant to be 108 pounds. I will tell you that. And I looked so sick and so worn out. And I remember thinking I remember getting like in and out of the hospital bed after my surgery, like before I went home. And I remember looking down on my legs as I was getting up and just being like, I can't believe this is my body. Like I didn't physically believe that my body could look as thin as it got, if that makes sense, which is crazy because I've always been like struggling to lose weight and struggling to not have the giant ass like my mom. And so when I was in the hospital, I was like, this isn't my body. This is totally not my body. And so I came home from the hospital, immediately feeling better, mind you. I was still underweight, but I felt immediately better. And I went to my 6-week checkup, and I said, when am I able to work out? And he said, you can work out now, but I would take it slow and I wouldn't lift more than 5 or 10 pounds and go easy on your cardio. And I was like, okay, bye. Done. I'm off. I'm going to go work out. Everybody was like, oh, maybe you should start with like 3-day refresh, or maybe you should start with, 3-week yoga retreat. And I'm like, 80-day obsession. I'm going for it. So I literally upgraded to 80-day obsession because that was right, I think around the time that it came out. And I committed to 80-day obsession after having 3 surgeries in 1 year. Okay. It was unbelievable. And I remember pushing play on my first day and I was bawling because it had been 2 years since I was able to work out. 2 years. And so now, mind you, I finished 80-Day Obsession. The entire 80 days, I finished all of it. I modified a hell of a lot of it, but I finished it. And I am on we start week 8 tomorrow, right? Of Lift 4. And haven't missed a beat. You guys, have gained all of my muscle back, all of the weight back. I feel like I'm in a healthy place finally, and I owe it all 100% to the programs and Shakeology. And now I have a whole nother audience I get to reach. You know, those people that are underweight, that don't think they can gain weight, that don't think that, you know, any chance in the world they have to be at a normal, healthy weight, they can get there. And I am living, walking proof that they can. So not only have I gone from overweight to fit, and then to fit to sick to fit, like, I know how every aspect of it feels. And I am able to now, with my knowledge that I have and just my experiences, focus on that fitness side of things. I think back to like 2015, 2016, when I focused so much on the business that I lost so much sight of the fitness aspect of things, like the most important thing that we offer. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm in a place now where I am able to be obsessed again with the fitness and the nutrition side of things. And again, I'm walking living proof that you can transform your body at any point, from any place, like point A to point B of any point. I'm living walking proof. So I use that. And if you go to my page, you don't see me talk about coaching very much. I don't talk about what I do very much. I do talk about the health and fitness side of things a ton. And you guys, I still have a successful, thriving business because of it. And it's kind of cool to see, you know, that you can grow your business focusing on the business side of things. You can grow your business on the fitness side of things. But for me and my experience, focusing on the health and fitness has built a more solid foundation than focusing on the bright and shiny things. So that's what I teach my coaches now, is to focus on those challenge groups and get people into the health and fitness side of things. And if they notice out of the gate that this person's already into health and fitness, like, great, then talk about coaching. But most people aren't at the place right now where they want to be all over social media, or they want to be leading other people, right? So I feel like getting people in with the fitness opportunity has just been a complete and total game changer for me and my team. Yeah. And then here we are today. Was that a hell of a story or what?
Yes, you are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I was like crying and laughing with you. Yes. You're amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been crazy. And it's like through every up and down. And I still tell people to this day, like, even like from the hospital bed, like in the midst of a divorce, like, I was present on, and I'm not saying, like, I feel like I kind of sound insensitive sometimes when I say this, like being present on social media through all of that. But I'm not lying when I say that this business was my escape during some of the hardest times in my life. And I am 100% thankful that I had it, because I don't know where I would have been if I didn't have the network or that escape in general. You know what I mean? That outlet to be able to put into other people when I wasn't able to focus on anything else. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does.
Yeah. Do you guys have questions?
Yes, ask questions.
Ask me questions. It's like always the awkward part of the call when nobody wants to unmute.
Do it.
Okay. when you say you send out like 50 invites a day, or you're sending out invites, so that's when you're basically reaching out to new people and talking with them and actually officially inviting them to join you, or you're just connecting with 50 people a day?
So my team today. So if you want, I actually host 2 power hours on Wednesdays. If you want, I will get Krista the link and you guys can join one of them or 2 of them if you want to. And I kind of go through and share exactly what my team does. So I teach them to focus on 3 things. And this is exactly what I do. So I teach them to focus on bringing new people to their network. Most of my people now are on Instagram, because that's where I am most of the time. So especially over the last 2 years, like I've been like 100% on Instagram. So most of the new people that I work with, or the people that are like running with me, are from Instagram. So I teach them how to interact with people on Instagram, how to find new people on Instagram, how to follow new people on Instagram that are in their niche, how to interact with those people. And I mean, I feel like interaction is huge on Instagram. Like you have to be interacting and having that back and forth with people or your network's not going to grow. So how to add people, the second thing we talk about is connections, making those connections. So I do it myself and I teach my coaches to message every single person that likes their pictures, every single person that comments on their pictures, every single person that follows their page, and every single person that watches their story. Okay, so we're sending out messages all day long to all 4 of those categories, no matter what. If they're a coach, and then they say, "Oh, I'm a coach," and okay, bye, next, like on to the next. You know what I mean? Like we are messaging everybody all day long. I give them scripts on what to say to those people and how to start that conversation. And for me, I try to go into every conversation, and you're going to hear 100 different ways to do this. I'm just saying, like, I listened to a call that Kate Morgan did for our team last week, and she's like, I don't give my team scripts, I don't give them anything. And I'm like, yeah, don't listen to her, you know, like yelling at my team as they're listening to her give this advice. And I'm like, just kidding, like, don't listen to this person. But I give them scripts on what to say. And for me, I go into every conversation trying to look for a way to mention 2 things, right? I'm either looking for a way to say, oh my God, have you ever thought about coaching? Or you need to be coaching. Or I look for a way to say, you need to join one of my accountability groups. You benefit so much from one of my accountability groups. Like coaching or accountability group. Like that's the way I want to take every conversation. And so I teach them to connect with people in a way that they're able to bring up that comment. Okay. And then follow up. So adding people to your network, connecting people, and following up. Like I think that's the key to this business. And people don't give follow-ups enough credit. And I tell my team all the time, like I bet 9 out of 10 people that I sign are from follow-ups. Probably like 5 or 6 or 7 follow-ups later that they actually sign up.
You say like the money's in the follow-up or something like
Yeah.
that. It's true though.
100%.
Most people are follow-ups.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Did that answer your question? I don't even remember what your question was.
Yes.
Like, and I get off on a tangent there. But yeah, I'll get Krista the link to my power hour. I do 2 of them just so I can kind of hit both, you know, working people and then the not working people. The first one I do is I think I do 2 p.m. Central, and the other one I do at 9 p.m. Central.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions?
I don't want to take any more of your time, but hi.
Hi, how are you?
And thank you. This is awesome. I like, as much as we spent time together, I didn't get like even a quarter of that story while we were there. And I didn't realize like the beginning part. I mean, I didn't realize how young. I mean, I knew you were young when you had your kids, but I didn't realize we were like in the same or similar boat with that.
I know.
But I went the opposite route. I'm like, I'm pregnant at 18. I'm freaking graduating college in 3 years. I'm going for my master's. I like totally went the opposite.
So I I dropped out of college right when I got pregnant because I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, I can't go to school, you know. But I also hated school, so I was looking for anything to get me out. And luckily, I got pregnant, so I didn't have to do it. But I also started to go. So after we moved to Kansas City in like 2010, I think it was right around the time, like right before we separated, and I re-enrolled in college, like thinking I was going to go for like nursing or something because I did phlebotomy at the time. He muted you. I love it. But I re-enrolled and I was going to go to nursing school, and I made it like a semester and a half, and I'm like, no, school's not for me. Like, and even to this day, like I'm that personality that like you send me a 45-minute video to watch and I'm like, meh, no, I'm not gonna do that. No, like homework, meh, no, not for me. So good for you for doing it, because not for everybody.
I felt like I had no choice, you know. I like didn't want to be a statistic with it, and just, but the same thing with, I mean, the dad, you know, he wasn't my husband, my boyfriend's time, like same thing with like addiction and all that. It was the same mess of trying to stick it out with somebody that I shouldn't have, because you like think this family, being a family is what you're supposed to do. And
Well, and even like, not to go up on that, but like, even the day of our wedding, I was like, he's an addict. Like, is he high right now? Like, it was all I could think about. And I still did it, just thinking that I needed to make the family work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we were married. We filed for divorce. We separated in October, but our divorce wasn't final until the following November. But our 10-year anniversary was in the middle of that in February. We were together for over 12 years. We were together. And I'm just like, it's crazy because, you know, I met him when I was 18 and we grew up together. We were kids together and we learned together. It was crazy. So it's been a whole, I also have a whole new market with being single now at 31. And it's not as fun as it sounds because dating is weird now, but I don't know. It's a whole new market, which is pretty interesting. Don't do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Hey, Mary.
Send it.
That's funny.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. More questions?
Well, I want to say thank you, by the way, because since Reno, every day I hear, quit your fucking job.
Stop.
Yes.
And it's,
Yeah.
I love it though. I can't wait to quit my job.
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, honestly, we sat in the back of the car. We sat at, you know, that restaurant and talked about it. And I'm like, Brett was hesitant at first too. He really was. And he made, I'll be honest, he made 160 grand the year that we retired him. And I was like, and he was like, yeah. And all of our friends were like, what are you doing? Like, quitting your job? Like, we got so much feedback from his family and friends and like everything. But I was like, you know what? I'm proving him wrong. And I just had that mentality the whole time. And I know she has that mentality. So
No.
I'm pretty positive it's going to happen at some point soon.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey babe, how's your day? Quit your fucking job.
I hear about it too. Wait, and if you don't mind, just because I don't know if everybody else gets inspired by it, but it made my jaw drop to the floor when you shared your current situation. If you don't mind, just because I think it might
with your income.
I was telling a friend, I'm like, this was a real live person who was like no different than me. Like this is like, you know, it's not that person on the stage that you're like, yeah, well, you started the company and you're sleeping with them, you know? I'm like, this is like a real live person that I sat next to.
That's what I told him too.
What do you mean?
Like you're us. Like we could do this, and so it's
your current income situation.
Oh, okay. Well, and I'll tell you, I'll tell you from like how I graduated. How about that? So like I said, I made $243 in my first week. Beachbody does not guarantee any level of success. Okay, I'm gonna just throw that out there. All right. So I made $243 in my first week. I made $4 grand in my first 90 days. Which at that point I was like, fuck you, Brett. Like, you know what I mean? It was super fun to do that. We retired him a year and a half in. So I was at like 150, 160. I think I made, in 2015, I made like, I don't even know. I think it was like 175 that year or something like that. It grew very quickly. But I will say, hitting 15 star, you know, I don't know if you guys have any idea, like those bonuses are like 60 grand a quarter. Like it's ridiculous. It's that mind blowing how much it is. It's like, that is this real life? It's not real life. I don't even know what's happening. But before I got sick, we were making like, and this is when I had Brett still, we were making like 14 to 15 grand a week. I know. That was before I got sick, okay? So let me now tell you my situation. Like, obviously, I've lost some people. I lost my husband's account, made $2,500 a week just being a diamond, just sitting there as a diamond. Yeah. Just because he was placed in a good spot for all my volume, and I totally took advantage of that. So when he quit, or when we separated his business, because he actually went to prove it and took some of my diamonds with him. Yeah, so I lost his business and lost some income with that. So I make now about 8 to 10 a week is usually what I make now. So yeah, which is still crazy. It's
yeah,
still
only 8 to 10 a week and then $60,000 a quarter. I mean, just only.
I know. Well, it is crazy. And I hate, you get to a point, and this is maybe what happened too a little bit with like the sharing of the lifestyle and things like that. Like, it was really easy to do when I was making like X amount and it was kind of relatable. But then when you get to a certain point and you're like, I made 15 grand this week, people are like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't believe you. They don't want to believe you. They don't like you anymore. It's like, I got to a point where I really couldn't share like income opportunity posts anymore, which was a good place to get to. But it was also like, okay, now how do I do this and not talk about how much money I make? You know what I mean? So, but it's also crazy too, because a lot of coaches are like, well, Raina, I don't make what you make. I don't live how you live. I don't have what you have. Like, I can't share all that. And I'm like, I don't want you to. Like, that's not relatable to people. Where you guys are now making a couple hundred a week or a couple hundred a month, like that amount of money is what was a game changer for me and a lot of my coaches, saying I bought groceries with my paycheck. I bought gas with my paycheck. Like, those things are more realistic and relatable to people than making 15 grand a week. You know what I mean? And it's like a little baby step to get people to kind of get them in and be like, this is the potential you have. There's more potential, but it can start with helping you here. You know what I mean?
Totally. I was actually so surprised because it seems like when I talked about income before, when it was just like a picking up the date, like, or taking the kids to get school clothes, like, people seem to really relate to that stuff versus like actually taking over half our bills or this. And I don't even really talk about income that much. And so for me, I was like, whoa, like, the moms aren't like wanting to do that. So it's harder for me now to talk about like where I'm going and like where I really want to be right this second or yesterday, or like you guys said, like now. So it's harder for me to talk about that than it is for me to talk about the little things, because they seem to relate to that more for some reason. So those of you who are not talking and sharing what your smaller paycheck is doing for you each week, like, you need to do that, because it's easier for people to understand that, even though it seems like nothing to you, like, because you probably have another source of income or a spouse. It's a really important thing, because there's a lot of women like you who are like, I can get fit and healthy and get this little extra that could help with this, and they're gonna relate to that. So I love that how you said that too, because I feel like a lot of people don't share it because of that. Like, they're afraid to share that stuff.
Well, I think too many people get caught up in the comparison game.
Yeah.
Too. Like, coaches with however many followers and stuff like that, and they compare themselves and they think, well, I'm not there yet, so I can't really share that yet. But it's opposite.
Mm-hmm. So true. I'm just so glad you were here. I hope. Did anybody have any other questions for Raina? I don't want to like excuse any of you, but I want to make sure that we all get to bed on time too. Oh, I'm so sorry for making you wait. I'm the queen of technical difficulties. My team will tell you. It seems to be every single time it's important, my shit breaks down. So,
it's the equipment, I promise.
That'll be your job when you retire.
He's all, don't quit.
Yeah.
Like, don't click it. Don't click it. And I'm all clicking it. He's like, don't click it. So, anyways, that's where we were tonight. Thank you so much.
I'll send you the Zoom link for my power hours, and you guys, like I said, you can hop on either one or both of them if you're available, whatever you want to do. Sometimes it's like I'm kind of like mediocre in the daytime, and then at night I'm like all energized and ready to go, and it's like a little bit more exciting at night. So.
More cider. Okay. Yay. Thank you so much. We're so excited. I'm so going to be jumping on this.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Love you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
You're so awesome. And hopefully I'll see you guys Wednesday.
Okay. That sounds good. We'll be there.